So hello. So for my poem, I decided to do Evening Hawk by Robert Penn Warren. So here's some basic information
Can I help you out,
about
Raul?
this poem,
I'm
Evening
just
Hawk.
like, there you go.
About Evening Hawk. Robert Penn Warren was born on April 24th, 1905, and he in Guilford, Kentucky, and he died on September 15th, 1989. Evening Hawk was made in 1985 from his new and selected poem series. Just to give you a little bit of background on the poem. Now, during the first portion of this poem, due to terms such as sunset builds and angularity of shadow, this is a symbol of the transition from day to night. Upon initial evaluation of these two quotes. Going even further, this is significant due to how the hawk is being portrayed as a killer of sunlight and a creature of the night, because as the hawk approaches the horizon, the darkness approaches with it. The possibility of symbolism is present, as we can already tell that the hawk may be involved with the sun transition from one day to another. However, we ought to ask ourselves, to what extent is the hawk involved and why? Going even further to this possible question, due to the combination of sights down another day and the crash and fall of stalks of time, this gives the hawk a representation as being time itself, due to how whenever the hawk presents itself, another day is concluded. Going even deeper, there's also usage of a metaphor within these two portions, due to the hawk's wings being compared to a scythe sliced through stalks. Also, the stalks of time portion of the metaphor could be its own metaphor, because it is comparing stalks and time to very different ideas and/or possessions, both being equally affected by the penetrating force of the hawk's wings. Again, being symbolism of the sight. And continuing on, the idea, in conclusion to this portion of the poem, the idea of the hawk's wings tearing apart the stalks is compared to another day passing by, as I said previously, with one metaphor resulting in another. Also, in lines 11 to 14, there is more imagery being seen through the poem, due to the usage of words such as climbing and unforgiving, as well as references from the already mentioned portions of the poem. The hawk kills away time without any relent on executing its deeds. So this could also possibly be a strong indicator of a harsh tone. The significance is the word unforgiving, which results in the hawk being portrayed as a creature that does its deeds with great passion. So this could also in some ways be an indicator of a teaching experience, but as I thought, but I couldn't really conclude that until I went through the later portions of the poem. Now, continuing on through this portion of the poem, there's also a developing feeling of regret due to the usage of words such as time and error. Presumably, we can establish the conclusion that he may have had some grave mistakes during his lifetime, or maybe he may have committed some type of deviant deed during his lifetime, but I'm not sure if that's really the case. But I think one thing that's definitely true is that there may possibly be some regret involved in saying what he had to say, which again presents time as something you can never take back. Now, 15 through 18. What I noticed here was the use of the words Plato and hieroglyphics. We can initially conclude upon the usage of those two words that the poem is giving an example of somebody who didn't waste his life, and saying how we can accomplish so much if we were to use our time wisely. The reasoning behind the use of the word Plato is because he spent his life developing the hieroglyphics on the philosophy of democracy. and that is considered using time effectively, as the poem proclaims, because he has contributed to the world to the world as a whole throughout his life. The use of hieroglyphics symbolizes how time has been around forever, and even though it is such an old concept, we are still affected by it now and will be forever. Because regardless of what era we're from, whether it's the Middle Ages or whether it's 3,000 years from now, time will always be a present factor in life itself. Due to terms such now going on to verses 19 and 21 through 21, due to terms such as Earth growing on its axis and history dripping darkness, I can say already that it can be a euphemism to another day ending, due to not directly just saying another day has ended or this is the end of the day. This is the significance of the word dark is often used as a description of someone who may be portrayed as a villain or someone with harmful intentions. As a result, the hawk could also be a personification as having a villainous role in the poem, due to the fact that it is the cause of the passage of time, as it turns out, as I previously said early in the poem, where it was a possibility. The hawk, given that the word is as its description indicates, that the hawk is a symbol of the transitioning phase from life to death. Now, looking at the theme, this is the entire poem in general. The theme of Evening Hawk could possibly be the themes of death and time, as it is expressed through the personification of the hawk, due to this description such as dark and the passage of time.
Yes.
And also the comparisons of the hawk's character traits, as I already mentioned, and how those are compared to the actual aspects of life. Now, going on to the tone, the tone has in Evening Hawk is really kind of a harsh tone, but at the same time very serious in regards to the potential consequences of time not being used to the fullest, as well as how time has affected us since the onset of everything that has ever existed. Through the descriptive nature of the hawk. However, I do feel that it is trying to teach us that the time is there, that time only happens once. That once you use it, it's done. It's done. It can never go back. But also, it's giving a limelight to. In many ways, it's also giving a limelight to how we can better improve our spending of time in the future at the same time, and how we can learn from our mistakes and move on.
Okay.
Now, the takeaways from the Evening Hawk, those are some of the takeaways from the Evening Hawk, and this is due to the mentions of death and time, which are also the main themes of Evening Hawk itself.
Clarice Velez, please come to the front. Thank you, Clarice.
Now, going on to the conclusion, we can establish that Evening Hawk is about the harsh reality of life and how time will not wait for you, because once time passes by, you can never get it back. Though it's also giving us some inspiration due to how we can improve our spending of time and how we can better ourselves in the future.
Dang.
Due to various significances of the main character in the poem, the hawk.
Is that it?
Yep.